And we are back with Erika Brown of the Manchester Cricket once again for our weekly check-in on all things by the sea. How you doing, Erika?
Hello, hello. Hey guys, it's good to see you.
Nice to
Well,
see
we
you.
hear you have some big news this week, right, concerning the cricket's reach.
Oh yeah, we actually have a really good thanks for saying that. We are actually going to every household in Essex this week because the Essex Water Department uses us to do their water disclosure, and so we send the paper to every household and business in Essex, and as well as our regular distribution. So everyone's getting it this week, and we have a really good paper because of it.
Nice. So tell us what's up.
All right, well, we have three kind of stories I think would be of interest to you. The first one is, since we're talking about Essex, we may as well just roll right into an Essex story. And it's actually kind of a funny one. I figured, well, it's not funny, I'm sure, to everyone. It was funny to me just because there are characters. I love sort of characters. And this was long on characters. And this had to do with, it stemmed from the Monday night Board of Selectmen meeting, which was by, conference call, which is what it is typically. And they were taking up the business of and I realized this after research, but a serial offender for running afoul of his business license. It was Specialized Auto and Dynamic Auto Sales. So it's Specialized Auto and Auto Dynamic Sales, which is really run by a guy by the name of Mark Gallagher. It's over on Eastern Avenue, 147 Eastern Avenue. And they're right next door to Essex Seafood. So I don't know if you've ever noticed, next door to Essex Seafood, there's like it's a small little strip of where you could buy used cars.
That is those cars. Yeah, I know. I'm always thinking, wow, seafood and cars.
Yeah.
That's an interesting combination.
Exactly. Well, I've noticed it too. It's a small little strip, and it's sort of it's deceptive because you think, oh, it's just a small little business, but the property actually extends back, and Specialized Auto, which is technically, I guess, a separate company, although Mark Gallagher owns both of them, and that actually plays into the story. There's a sort of a specialized automotive repair business that's been going on for years in the back, and literally over the last 10 years, he's had to come before the Board of Selectmen maybe at least 6 times because he's always going over his license with the number of cars and vehicles on the premises. His neighbors don't like it. They say it's like a salvage yard. And once you understand what he does for a living, you realize why. It's because he specializes, or historically he has specialized in Saabs, the Saab brand of cars. And they don't manufacture those anymore. And so you need what's called donor cars. In other words, cars to strip for the parts in order to actually do his business. So he routinely apparently appears and before. And this time he appeared because there were a couple of surprise visits by the building inspector in April and May. He had 50 cars or 52 cars. He was only supposed to have 18. Okay, so yet again, he's before the Board of Selectmen. Now, I hadn't heard him before the Board of Selectmen before, so I was new to this and I'm listening. And then all of a sudden, Peter Phippen leans in. And the way we write it is that Mr. Gallagher, who is kind of a character, the way he talks, his presentation, and then you realize afterwards, after my research, he is a multiple nationally ranked speedboating champion, like speedboat racing champion, national champion. So you can get an idea of what kind of guy he is. You get the feeling that he's not afraid to lean right in. So
Did Pippin lean back?
Well, let me tell you, he's not afraid, but you could tell from this particular meeting, the Board of Selectmen were at the end of their tether. They were at the end. They weren't going to be doing this anymore. And so he was this is what was funny to me. You could tell that he had made his strategy ahead of time, and he was going in with that strategy, and it was a strategy of an offense. But by the end, so I said, he leaned in, he entered the meeting like a lion, but he exited like a lamb, because he started off by saying that there's 2 businesses on the premises. So by that logic, he should have twice the amount of cars. That was his interpretation, which if this were your first offense, that might pass muster. If this were your 4th offense, it might pass muster. But this was not. And the Board of Selectmen just, And Peter Pippin was the one who kind of stopped the tide. He's a slackman. And he said, listen, I've been on this board for 2 years. This is the third time I've seen you.
Yeah, but the poor guy, he's right next to Essex Seafood, which just burned down. I mean, there must be a lot of trauma in his life right now, right?
I don't know if that guy, I don't think that a fire at a seafood restaurant next door to his house is what would cause trauma. Believe me, something tells me that going 80 miles an hour in a cigarette boat, he's seen worse trauma. Anyway, so Peter Pippin leans in and he just says, I know, we don't seem to be communicating. He didn't say this exactly, but he basically says, you don't seem to be hearing us. So why don't we suspend your license? And you know, this guy who is like doing, he's really confident, a little bit of swagger in his voice. All of a sudden, these are the words he said. He said, and this is a quote, my license is very dear to me. Dear. He actually used the word dear like he's an 80-year-old woman. That license is very dear to me. I'm in compliance. I've changed my business model. Sales are really good. I'm selling a lot of cars now. I don't do sobs anymore. He just started to suddenly, and that's what I found kind of lighthearted about it. He went in all strong, but he came out all compliant. So the headline to the article, by the way, is Speeding to Compliance.
Nice line.
All right, so there you go. That's my lighthearted moment. The other pieces this week that are going on, and I'll just sort of rifle through them the way I usually do. We have a great piece on real estate. We talked about this last week about how, real estate sales real estate agents for the last 3 weeks, we've been kind of monitoring it, and it seems as if they've been busy, despite the fact that we've had social distancing, despite the fact that they've had to entirely change how they do their business. Think about it, market analyses, just general client relationships, putting in proposals to get a listing and then going ahead and marketing them. Open houses are done, one at a time if they're in person. If they're in person, you have to wipe down everything, one at a time. Booties, can't touch anything. Masks, of course. The real estate agents don't always go in with you. You have to get pre-approved even to go to an open house. There's a lot of big changes. But guess what? We looked at the numbers and the metrics, and this is a front page story. We started out by doing it about how, the agents have really changed up how they're doing their business. A lot of them are getting creative. We have a guy here who did a YouTube over the top, open house that was a film that he called a jetpack tour. It was kind of funky, and it's had almost about a little over 150 views. It'll probably close in on 200 views soon. So kind of creative stuff. But then we looked at the numbers. The numbers actually of transactions from registry of deed data and mortgage banking data. They're up month over month for both March and April, and they're up substantially for both Manchester and Essex. So there you go.
One thing I've noticed too, it's in buying and selling houses, there are no more looky-loos, because it's basically the people who are just really interested. They're the ones getting in there and giving it hard looks and making decisions right on the spot. So,
Ida Doan, who is a realtor for Coldwell Banker, and she's sort of a true veteran. She's been around forever. She started selling, she was telling me, in 1981 when the interest rates were 16 and 17%. So you know what she said to me? She said, first of all, I'm a little more relaxed. I know how to go with it because I've seen a lot of things over the years, and this feels a little more manageable because it's universal. She goes, that was hard. This is, it's hard to adapt, but things are getting easier. But she said one silver lining is there's no looky-loos. If somebody is taking the time to actually show up, and they're going through all the stuff, and they're risking their safety, actually. They're actually going through these compliant things. They want to buy a house. Right. And she also said, by the way, that Essex is starved for inventory. She said there's only like 6 houses and 1 piece of property that's in listing, and 4 of the 6 are between 1 million and 3 million. So if you're somebody who's just a regular buyer, which most of us are, it's really hard. Essex is, she said, so she basically said to me, listen, if you want to sell your house and you live in Essex, that's your opportunity. So interesting. Yeah. So we have that. We also have just in Essex, they're going to be doing an outdoor, they just announced this yesterday. They're going to be doing an outdoor town meeting just like Manchester. They're going to be doing it at the Essex Elementary School. So that's happening as well. Yeah,
Good stories this week, Erika. Thank
really
you.
good. Yeah.
Really good. I cannot wait to see that paper.
If you live in Essex, you will.
That's right. So, American, everyone's going to be bracing in Manchester for the reopening of everything this weekend, right?
Yeah, we have the staged opening that they purposely decided they were going to phase 2. Sorry about this.
That might be the Gallagher residence.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He'll be speeding over in my direction.
He's on his way.
No, Singing Beach is going to be opening on Monday, and I think they did that phase 2 kind of opening by design because this weekend is supposed to be spectacular. It's supposed to be like in the 80s. And there was a big, big debate on Monday night at the Board of Selectmen on how they were going to open, how they were going to regulate residents. This is a theme. We've been talking about this for a long time. One of the big debates, though, is that they had a really long, at points heated discussion on Monday night about whether or not the town should be employing and putting high schoolers as they kept on saying, but it's not high schoolers, it's actually college age kids. Cheryl Marshall is going with the older kids to regulate and to get tags and to man the parking lots. And the selectmen had a real heated discussion about whether or not it was right to do that because it was a public safety issue, and why should we employ younger residents and kids essentially, although college students are not kids. But that was the tone of the debate, whether or not they should be, front and center when it comes to dealing with the public and dealing with potentially heated situations about the desire to just get on the beach. So they're anticipating it'll be tough. So.
And we understand that there's no sunbathing, there's no stopping and spending some time on the beach. You have to basically be moving. Will there be people monitoring that, you would think?
They will be. They're going to have police there, but the police are not going to be front and center. The police will be sort of as backup, and they're going to expect that the people who they've employed by the Parks and Recreation Department will be the ones to essentially inform everybody what the rules are when they enter the beach. You have to have your tag to get on the beach initially with residents, and then you also have to have your parking sticker to get on to park and to access the beach. So that's how they're going to do it.
When you pay attention to that sound, it just gets louder and louder and louder.
Yeah. So sorry. Okay.
Well, thanks for this, Erika. We'll, of course, we'll be back in touch next week to see what's going on. But enjoy the holiday weekend. Maybe we'll see you out and about. And maybe we can shoot each other off the beach,
Exactly.
We're not on the beach, Corey.
All right. Thanks for your time, Erika. We'll see you soon.
All right. See you guys. Bye.